Right. Peace and blessings. Assalamu alaikum. Good evening or good afternoon or good morning, wherever you are across the globe. So, what I am trying to do, I had this problem twice, and I'm trying to mute myself on Instagram because when you are streaming, um, allow this. Yes. So please forgive me. If I can't, if it's not allowing me to come out of this so I can. Hmm, uh, I'm sorry, my Facebook people and YouTube live. I'm gonna get this together, inshallah. Wow. I'm gonna give myself about another minute, and then if I can't, then oh my God, I hate that I would have to do this. I just have to be real. It's a possibility I may have to walk of, because obviously I can't mute myself. Yep, yep, yep. Trying to trying to figure out how to. Let's see. Okay, yes, I'm live on. Yep, Instagram. Yes. How do I do this, y'all? And I was trying to work this out before I came on. I said, okay. I said, I'm gonna get this. Mashallah. Oh goodness. Technical. Wow. I like literally there's no way it's like all gray, so it's not allowing me to mute myself. That where I see it. So, all right. All right. It's for whatever reason I can't find it. I literally cannot find where that button is. Where I'm supposed to be able to mute myself. So I'm gonna have to. So if you don't mind, my dear sister, I see you. Halal, love Nubila. Halal, love Nubila. I hope that you're on Facebook. So please go to my Facebook page, read, and also my YouTube channels. Through those places, reading. Matter of fact, maybe I can let me get in. Reading is freedom. That's the YouTube. ABC Read on Facebook. Yeah. So that's where I'm at now. Okay. All right. Yeah. All right, everybody. Sister tried. I tried. I tried once again. Okay, you guys. Welcome to another story time brought to you by me, Miss Sasha. Of course, I took up about 5 minutes of y'all time, and I know how that is when you are on social media. 5 minutes seems like hours for folks, right? You guys were like, for those who were on, I know you probably were like, oh my goodness, once again, my apologies, but I'm about to get right on into it. We are doing our last read aloud, y'all, for the year 2023. And we are going to leave this year strong in the read aloud camp. Okay. This is something that I started back up doing. For those of you who don't know, this is your first time listening to one of the live read alouds. I had started this back in 2000, I think that was 2017 or 2018, that I started committing to reading aloud on Facebook. And this was before the pandemic. Okay, so I had started reading aloud twice a week. I would do it on Wednesdays and Sundays, and I would even have my children come and read aloud with me. So that was my beginnings, and I was committed to that. I'm talking about going into like 2 years doing it, and then I had wound up stopping doing it like how I was, because just life and more responsibilities came my way, and so I wasn't able to commit to it. But I realized that as of recently, I said, this is something that the community needs. They need to, number one, see a read aloud being modeled. And when I say they, I'm talking about people who are still trying to figure out how to incorporate read alouds consistently for their children. And I wanted to go ahead and start back modeling that. Also, this is good for those parents and caregivers who maybe have something that they have to do around this time. Maybe they got some things they need to tie up, some ends they need to tie up before they get ready to chillax for the rest of the evening. And they maybe have a busy 3-year-old or 4-year-old that hasn't gone to bed yet. So that's why I chose the time 7:45, okay, Eastern time. And so I said this would be a great way to help those families who want to be able to incorporate reading aloud in their homes, and they're just trying to get a jump start on it, trying to figure out how to go about it. And then the other component to it is making sure that our children are getting books that are representative of Black people, Black culture, and Black experiences, because we don't see that still a lot in 2023, even though we have the diversity, equity, and inclusion. We have culturally relevant. You hear all these terms that we continue to hear over and over again about what's being incorporated. People say a lot of ish, but then do they actually really implement it? And so that's the thing that we have been, seeing, because again, you still have kids who are not really being read aloud to, either in schools, like I said, even in homes, due to time constraints and all of that type of stuff. So I said, let me go ahead and implement again, being consistent with reading those stories aloud once a week, at a time that was good for me, and as well as I thought that would be good for most of you out there, again, on the Eastern Standard Time, you know, Eastern Standard Time, right? All right, so I'm done. Now let's get on into it, y'all. Let's get on into the book. This is our final book for 2023. Yes, the book Itch. Freedom, Truth, and Harlem's Greatest Bookstore. And I thought, what a great way to end 2023 by reading a book that's promoting literacy and that's promoting knowledge of self, learning about our Black history and Black culture, Black experiences, because this book right here is infused with all of that. This book is about the brother Louis Micheaux, who had opened up the phenomenal bookstore in the Harlem, right? In Harlem, New York. I don't know why I couldn't get that out. In Harlem. And this book was written by his daughter, Vaunda Micheaux Nelson, and it was illustrated by R. Gregory Christie. Okay? All right. So I hope you guys are ready. And this book, actually, I've read this book already. It's on my YouTube channel. So if you look on there, you will see that I had read this book some years ago. Okay, it seemed like a whole bunch of years ago, but I said I'm bringing it back. Okay, so here we go. Here we go. The book itch. Who got the book itch? Who out there is itching and scratching to hear a story? Who out there itching to read? Well, let's get on into it, y'all. This house is packed with all the facts about all the Blacks all over the world. That's what it says above our door. We own this place, this house, the National Memorial African Bookstore. It's our home, just about, because we spend so much time here. On weekends and in the summer, I ride my bike to the store and help Dad. I get to carry the signs out in the morning and put flags of African countries in holders near the curb. All kinds of people come to 2107 7th Avenue, kids and grown-ups, Black folks and white folks, writers and politicians, artists and teachers, even famous people like actors and musicians from the Apollo Theater visit the bookstore. Sometimes it's so busy, you could hardly get inside. One day, a crowd bigger than usual is packed around the door. I squeeze through and put my bike up. This is my boy, Louis, Dad says. I look up and it's Muhammad Ali. He's so tall, I have to lean my head way back to see his face. I feel his big boxer's fingers close over mine. It's like shaking hands with a giant. I can't think of anything to say. Mr. Ali pushes my chin up. I guess my mouth was hanging wide open. He and Dad are laughing at me. But I don't care. I just met the heavyweight champion of the world. Dad opened his store in Harlem Square way before I was born. Mom says he started out with 5 books and a mission. She says he had something in his heart he believed in so much that he'd do just about anything to make it happen. Dad says he got the book itch and needed to scratch it. Back then, he'd walk up 7th Avenue and on to 125th Street selling books out of a pushcart. Don't get took, read a book, he'd call. When Dad went to a bank to borrow money to open a bookstore for Black people, the banker said no. He said Dad could have a loan to sell fish and chips or fried chicken, but not books. The banker told him, Black people don't read. My dad believed they would. He washed windows, saved his pennies, and opened the bookstore. He was right. People came and they read. Now we have about a zillion books in the store, and more people come every day. They come and they talk. They read and they buy. Dad doesn't have to sell on the street now, but sometimes we do anyway. Dad says he wants to reach people who might not know about the store, people who don't know how important books are. We push the cart calling, "Knowledge is power! You need it every hour! Read a book!" Dad made that up just like he made up the sign over the store. He plays with words until they say what he feels. I guess that makes him a poet. Dad's name is the same as mine, Louis Micheaux, but people call him the professor. Even though he didn't go to school much, Dad says he doesn't have college knowledge. He educated himself by reading books and by living. He says, "You are not necessarily a fool because you didn't go to school." Can I stay home and read books and learn by living? I ask. "You go on to school," Dad says. "There are things you can learn from your teachers, but don't you stop thinking for yourself. And don't you stop asking questions." Me and my dad talk about important things, things like truth and what it means to be free. Dad says books can help you. Not every book is true, he says, but the more you read, the easier it is to figure out for yourself what is true. Dad lets people read books without buying them. There's a boy who reads in the store every Saturday like it's a library. Dad says books will help him clear the weeds and plant the seeds so he'll succeed. Like I said, Dad's a poet. Customers stay as long as they want, even if it's past closing time. Dad never makes them leave like other stores do. Sometimes Dad locks up so late, he's too tired to come home. He sleeps there with all his books. I don't always understand his poetry, but I like the sound of Dad's words. He calls the bookstore the house of common sense and the home of proper propaganda. Mom says that means the bookstore is a place to find good information and ideas. People come for more than books. They come to talk and to listen. When me and Dad set up the raised platform outside the store, people crowd around. They know there's going to be a rally. News spreads fast. Some people find out from flyers. Most folks hear through the grapevine. I like to stand on the platform and look out. People everywhere. There are some squad cars too. Dad jokes. Anytime more than 3 Black people congregate, the police get nervous. People come to hear talk about fighting for the same rights white people have. Talk about jobs and voting, about how Black folks should respect and support each other. People shout angry words. They kid around and laugh. Sometimes I don't get why they're mad or what's so funny. Dad talks to the crowd from the platform too. He says Black people need to learn their history by reading books. If you don't know and you ain't got no dough, then you can't go. And that's for sure. The days Mr. Malcolm X speaks, lots of people come. When we first met Mr. Malcolm, he shook my hand and gave me the kindest smile. He and my dad are friends. Mr. Malcolm even gets mail at the store. He loves books as much as we do. He says he could spend the rest of his life reading just to satisfy his curiosity. When Mr. Malcolm comes to the store, he sits in the back room and talks with Dad about what he's going to say before climbing onto the platform. The crowd claps and cheers so much, Mr. Malcolm has to wait a long time for them to get quiet before he can say anything. Then when he does, they get riled up all over again. I remember one time he said, Nobody can give you freedom. Nobody can give you equality or justice or anything. If you're a man, you take it. That really got them going. There are bodyguards watching out for Mr. Malcolm. When I asked Dad why, he says, Malcolm X speaks the truth, and there are people who don't want us to hear it. One day, I'm ice skating with my friends. When Dad comes for me, he says, hurry now, I have to get up to the Audubon ballroom. Malcolm's expecting me. I jump in the car and Dad takes me home. Then he speeds off toward the ballroom. While I'm doing my homework, Mom gets the phone call. She covers her face and turns away. Mom hangs up and looks at me. Malcolm. Her eyes are wet. She can't talk for a minute. Someone shot him when he stood up to give his speech. All right. The stream went out. While I'm doing my homework, Mom gets a phone call. She covers her face and turns away. Mom hangs up and looks at me. Malcolm. Her eyes are wet. She can't talk for a minute. Someone shot him when he stood up to give his speech. I can't breathe. Mom opens her arms. I run to her. Don't worry, she says. Your father is coming home. In, out. I am breathing again. Later, I hear Dad's key in the door. He hugs Mom and me and sags into his chair. He takes off his glasses and cleans them. At last, he says, when I got to the ballroom, everybody was rushing out, screaming and hollering. I went inside, and there he was, lying, dead. Dad kind of shivers. I was supposed to be sitting right beside him. I'm glad I wasn't. I'm sad they killed Mr. Malcolm, but I'm glad my dad is all right. I'm glad I went skating and Dad came to get me. I'm glad. After I go to bed, Dad sits in the living room, crying in the dark. I never heard Dad cry before, and I don't know what to do. I can't keep from crying too. In the morning, Dad comes to my room. He looks tired, but okay. He sits on the edge of my bed and pecks my forehead. Malcolm used to say, if you're not willing to die for it, put the word freedom out of your vocabulary, Dad said. They think they got rid of him, but people won't forget. His words will never leave us. Words. That's why people need our bookstore. Maybe someday I'll believe in something so much, I'll have the itch to make it happen. For now, I read books, I ask questions, I listen to the people on the platform outside, and I talk with my dad about truth. Here at the National Memorial African Bookstore. The end. So this is a picture. Try to put it as close as I can so you guys can see this history right here. So this is the brother Louis Micheaux, or maybe it's Louis Micheaux, inside his store in the late 1960s, you guys. So in here, another example right here, another picture rather, of the inside of his bookstore. Why is this book so important? Well, number one, the first obvious reason is that it's a book that promotes reading in the Black community. It's talking about this great bookstore that was in Harlem, New York, started by this Black man who actually, in the beginning, for those of you who didn't hear the beginning of the story, he went to the bank to get a loan so he can open up his bookstore. And the loan officer was like, nah, you can't have money to open up a bookstore. Black people don't read. And I'm quite sure those of you are familiar with the saying, if you want to hide something from a Black person, then you put it in a book, right? But these were, the different negative stereotypes that was created to, number one, deter us and keep us from actually trying to read and learn. And remember, during slavery, that was the one of the aspects of the enslavement process, was to keep us from reading, to keep us from learning. That's why Frederick Douglass, one of his famous quotes is, once you learn to read, you will be forever free. Because he remembers when he learned how to read when he was enslaved, and then he couldn't unlearn it. And he knew that was his ticket to freedom. And this is something that our African ancestors have always valued: reading, learning, education. We talk about the universities that were already established in Africa way before there were universities in these European places. This is the information that our children need. They need to see books like this. They need to see this image right here. They need to see this Black boy with a book in his hand and not always see a Black boy with a football or a basketball in his hand. We have to normalize reading in our community. And this is why we have ABC Read. This is why I started the brand, Reading is Freedom. This is why I started the podcast, Real Reading Talk. This is why I'm a reading tutor, because I know the importance and the value of us reading, learning how to read, understanding what it is that we're reading, having discussions, great, positive debates about things that we've read, things that we've learned. It sharpens our minds. It connects us in ways that are uplifting and positive and powerful. It gives us ideas to create, to innovate, to build. This is what reading does. And we have to normalize that All right. So I see that, I'm having major issues with the stream being interrupted. So I'm just going to stop here. I thank you all for listening once again. And I hope that everybody is careful out there this evening. I know folks is getting ready to celebrate ending the year 2023. And again, my name is Miss Sasha and ABC Read. Reading is freedom. I wanted to end 2023 with making sure that we are continuously promoting literacy, reading in our Black communities. All right. So I thank you all for rocking with me. And yes, inshallah, God willing, I'll be back next Sunday, same time, same station. All right. Reading another book for you all. You all take care, be blessed, and you all have a beautiful and safe New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. All right. Take care. Peace.